world isn't black and white, it's a confusing gray. It's really nice out here. No, the air quality is shit, but the air's kind of cool. The temperature's cool. It's hard not to take it personal. I was looking at a cicada on the ground at my house, and the abdomen had been completely eaten away, and I was just like, I didn't know them damn cats ate. Them cats eat everything, man. They eat crickets, cicadas, lizards. And of course rats. If it moves and fits in the palm of their hand, they're probably going to eat it. No, I got a late start and it always surprises me how many people are still out here. It's damn near, or it's 9:30 I think when I started. It's getting harder and harder to go to bed and get and wake up. I know it's bad when I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm still tired. I'm gonna eat tonight. Quinoa and I think I'll make it quinoa and kidney beans. It's actually not a bad idea. Still got some chips left. that magical phrase, I believe you're looking for me. Did I miss Rosa? Nope, there it is. Nope, there it is. It's like, why are you saying it like that? What? I just love like those Pimp Daddy smooth voices of the 70s. There it is. Man, what was the last time I went down this street? I want to say April. I think it's definitely been a while. And I haven't run down it in a while. Because this is part of my 6.3 mile jogging route, and I hate this one. Going up the hill, and I get up there around, you cross the street, and then you gotta go up the hill again, and then there's Sleepy, and then I come back down again, and then I gotta dodge traffic. It's not too bad when I do my 14 though. I mean my 13 mile route up here. I get on Rosa, and then after that it's just, I know I'm going to be running on it for like 6 or 7 miles. Sucker takes me all the way up to Farmer's Branch. Go around Brookhaven and come on back. That's the thing that's super cool about this, is that you can take this all the way up there. You've seen it on the videos. Do it every year. Sometimes twice a year. The thing that pisses me off though is every time I try to do the 13, something comes up at work, or something comes up with the weather that makes it hard to do the half marathon. Anyway, by the time I get my mileage up, it'd be around New Year's till I can do the whole thing. With all the distractions of life, I'm amazed at the people. You just want to give them a round of applause. People who do marathons, they either have to be extremely selfish or have the energy to deal with everyone else and train for the marathon. Because it takes a lot out of you. You start getting up to 10 miles, man, and that is a commitment. And then you're working through the next 10, and it takes time and energy. Suddenly you're doing 20 miles. I don't care how fast some of these people are. That's 90 minutes to 3 hours of your time trying to run a full marathon. And I can't do it because it would take me 6 hours. That's how slow I am. I'm sorry, when I said 90 minutes, I meant that's how long it takes people to do like that. The really fast people do like the half marathon. And I'm like looking at it, and I'm sitting there doing the averages. I was like, man, these guys are doing 4-minute miles. Like the Kenyans and everybody, they got it perfectly down to 4 minutes, equal exactly. What's the fastest marathon time? Let's see, 52 minutes is 4 minutes per mile. I don't know if anyone's done a marathon half marathon in 52 minutes. All I know is that I'd be sitting there, I was doing that one, I'm doing the 6. I'm coming up to the point where they're talking about, okay, this is where it splits off between the 26ers and the 13ers. And you start seeing people coming back. The bottom line is, by the time I got halfway done, the fastest people were coming back and finishing. One thing I know is probably going to be fact, unless I retire or win the lottery, I'm going to be running long distances in the dark for as long as I'll be running for the foreseeable future. I never realized how much of a difference 32-hour shift is versus the 40-hour, 32-hour week versus a 40-hour week. Just that one day makes all the difference. I had work-life balance. But I couldn't stay in school forever. I mean, I guess I could. The way I could have accomplished it was, if I was homeless, but had a part-time job, I could go to school forever. Might be something to think about. The bum scholar. Out there squatting on public lands. Or squatting in empty lots, sleeping in tents. Eating out of cans over fireplaces. Making just enough money. Oh, that's right, you can't. Yeah, I couldn't do that because they gotta have a place to send the paychecks. Most people won't hire a guy who doesn't have a place of residence. But if I did shit, no, you can't go to school on shit jobs. I don't know, not university level. $3,000 every, no, not with rising tuition costs, couldn't do it. At least here in Dallas I couldn't do it. Maybe there's a small college somewhere that you could work as a janitor or something. That's what they were talking about, these guys who the guy has like 33 degrees or something. He's like, yeah, he's got 6 master's degrees. He works as a janitor. He's been a janitor for 30 years and he got all these degrees. You know, that's what he was doing on his time off. Get a mathematics degree, biomedical engineering degree, robotics degree, what else did I want to work on? There's something else. There's a bunch of other. There was a bunch of degrees I just kind of wanted to work on. Theoretical physics. Quantum physics. But I go and get a liberal arts degree. I get one in economics. I get a degree in economics. Did you get a degree in business? Maybe a statistical analysis, but I mean, like I said, that's a mathematics degree. I'd get a degree in law. Might even get, maybe even get bored and just go past the bar. I was like, I wouldn't. That's new. Maybe I would never work a job doing those things, but just to have the knowledge. And if somebody's barking into the screen, well, that's just pointless. You got to make money off of it. No, you don't. Everything's meaningless. It's absurd to sit there and try to make more money. you're running around living this pointless life, you might as well enjoy doing something that you like that's pointless. I think that's the realization I keep coming to. But it's hard to shake it, because my programming tells me I have to be responsible and help out, and sometimes I just want to dive head first into the deep pool of objectivism, be a completely selfish bastard. I used to think there was something wrong with that, but now I think some of those people are probably the smartest in the world. What's the point in helping out people with their meaningless lives if you can't enjoy your meaningless life? You kind of glean something for everybody's philosophies. At the end of the day, helping others selfishly helps you. So then there's that balance that you gotta go through. Anyway, there's a lot of assholes out here still. Like, I don't get why the UPS trucks are still out here. Did UPS change their hours, or do certain people pay money to like get late night shipments? Is the dude running late? Probably one of the coolest jobs I ever had, because it was 4 hours. 4 hours, I got to lose a lot of weight. You know, it kept me somewhat in shape. I worked at UPS from about 5 to 9. And then the second time I did it, I can't remember, it was like a late night shift that they had. I worked from like 9 to 12 or something. I couldn't. But it was cool. I worked from 5 to 9. I'd go to bed around 1. Or sometimes I go to bed early because I had an earlier class. I had a history class at 6 in the morning. I used to carpool with a guy. And then we had to take separate classes the next semester. And that was when my dad dropped me off, and he said, okay, you got to get a car. So instead of dragging his ass, he started getting the car fixed for me. I was buying a car from him, and he finally got it all fixed up. I paid for 2 cars to get fixed up. One of them, he was driving around, he got it wrecked. Anyway, I've gone on about this one. He said, oh, it wasn't my fault. The dude was, it wasn't his fault, but still, it was one of those things where if he would have been watching what he was doing, he wouldn't have got hit. It was that intersection, he was just barreling out of there, didn't check to see what was going on in the intersection. Some guy ran the red light, T-boned him. I'd spent $500 to get the car fixed, and it was totaled. That was the weird thing. I was buying these cars, getting them fixed up, and then somehow and then I'd be driving it around, and then he'd sell his cars and was borrowing mine during the day. Like I'd sleep during the day or during the night or something. I'd sleep during the day and he'd borrow the car during the day, and then I'd take night classes. And so sometimes I'd be sitting there, I was like, I gotta get to a class, there's a quiz or test going on, and I'm waiting for this joker to bring my car back. Sorry, I'm late. I was like, you sorry, motherfucker? I was like, I got a test today. Well, I said I'm sorry. I was like, I get to a certain point where I would just take the key, and I was like, you had to find some other way to where to drive. Oh, come on, give me the keys. Nope. And I feel sorry for him and let him borrow my car again. But yeah, when he cut that hole in that door, I'll keep talking about it till the end of time. He cut a hole in in the door of the car that I had bought. I knew it was time. And I was making enough money at my job. I was like, there's no reason. I was making enough money at the job where it's like, there's no reason why I can't buy a new car. But I was being cheap. And he cut that hole in the door, and I just said, okay, let me go ahead and nip this in the bud. I spent 10 years of my life living like that, where it was like I'd buy secondhand cars, fix them up, drive them around, and because they were secondhand cars, stuff in them was wearing out that they didn't tell me about. And so I just spent all this money trying to maintain them. And then I had somebody that was cutting corners. Versus me buying a car at a dealership. Buying the car from a dealership, making car payments, and then just taking it to the dealership for maintenance. Yes, they call it the dealership. Yes, it sucks that you can't even change your own spark plugs without the ROM on the car acting a fool. But it's like it's a wonderful convenience fee is what it is. You take it up there, you know they're going to do it right. They screw up, they'll be hell to pay. And I do read stories about people who say that I took it to the dealership, they were supposed to do the X, Y, and Z, brought it back, and the car was still having problems. Fortunately for me, most of the time I read those stories, it's American cars that they're having that problem with. I don't hear too many people complain about their Hondas. There was a problem with with the CRV one year where it had all sorts of electrical problems, and people were just... The CRV was having electrical problems, and my mom's car was one of those. She just finally traded hers in. I don't plan on getting rid of my car until something major goes wrong with the engine. Then I'm just going to trade it in and get like that you know, Or they pay you $500 even though the car's probably worth a whole lot more. It's like, just stick a for sale sign on it. Someone will buy it. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. More trouble than it's worth. Some dude running around kicking the tires, trying to haggle you on it, you just looking at him. Kelly Blue Book says it's this much, it's this much. Sometimes you get a sale, you're starting to bite, and the guy at last minute says, "Oh, my financing fell through. Can you come down a little bit?" I was like, "No." I was like, "You can tear your ass on. I got other people wanting to buy the car." That's what sucks about business, is dealing with those idiots, man. All these cheap people who want to haggle. You want to strangle the person that said the customer is always right. I think even Sam Walton was saying that the customer is not always right. And I used to hear stories about him, somebody giving his employees a hard time. And he tell them, you can take your money and you can take your business elsewhere. He did not suffer fools lightly. And this is what I hear from the people that worked for him when he had a few stores. He would come by and somebody was giving his employees a hard time. He'd tell them, you can take your business elsewhere. It's one of the reasons why it's always so humid in the city. So I'm having a hard time finding my running shoes. I bought them last year, but apparently... Okay. I always get that one nozzle that doesn't spray right. Trying to find the Brooks Beast 18, and apparently so is everybody else. Either that or they're discontinuing the shoe. And I was like, well, okay, I'll buy the latest version. What's the latest version? Brooks doesn't have a latest version. So I don't know if they were having supply problems. Somebody's going out there hoarding them. I don't know what's going on. Every single time I try to get certain things, man, marketplace is getting incredibly fucked up and convoluted. This shoe cost $160. Some places are trying to sell it for $300 plus shipping. They charge you for shipping. One store I can get one pair. That's what I'm gonna have to do, is I'm just gonna have to eat the bullet and buy a pair of that the $160 ones. I'll just have to get white. I can't find them in black. I'll do it tonight. I've done this before where Well, the black ones apparently were really popular. And then they had a red and gray one. That really, I didn't even know that one existed. So I'll just get 2 pairs of the gray ones if they're still out there. Somebody might have bought them up by now. There was a time when TJ was tripping, and I thought maybe I could come to this field and start running around it and get permission and everything. I understand their reasoning for it, though. It's like, man, they let me in, and then you'd have these other jokers coming in there. And I'm pretty reliable and responsible. But other dudes have started showing up and they start leaving trash. Because that's what's happening to TJ. I look over and they got the dog running around, pooping all over the field. They leave stuff on the track. They tear up the track. There was a time period where it was really tough to find a place to sprint. When I first started hilling, that was an adventure, trying to find a hill to run on. Yeah, I'll just go to the Rook store, get 2 pairs of the white ones. I really don't feel like going through the hassle again of going up to the store, trying out 4 or 5 different pairs of shoes, selling on one, running with them, finding out there's some kind of problem, then having to take them back. I did that with the New Balance store. I love their shoes, but man, I hated every year that somebody was changing something. Finally, they got so bad with their changes that every year I had to change models. Or not every year, but every time I went up there and tried to get the new, they just like, oh, we got the version 3. What was it, the 1140 version 3 or whatever I was wearing. Didn't last as long as the previous version. Didn't feel as comfortable. I was having all sorts of plantar fasciitis problems. Plantar, yeah, said that. I took them, so then I got the Brooks, took the New Balance back, and I said, I'm done with them. And they said, what'd you wind up getting? I said, I got the Brooks Beast. And he said, that's pretty much the same as ours. And I said, obviously not. It is a heavy shoe, but it's a comfortable one. Does that say today apprentices, tomorrow's leaders, or what does that mean? Today students, tomorrow leaders. Is that true? No. Yeah. Learners today, leaders tomorrow. No, none of that's true. Why do I say it's not true? Our leadership is getting to be an inheritance thing in America now. We unfortunately are starting to form a new nobility. You know, to this day, I'm still trying to figure out how a guy like him. I had to do more research on Abraham Lincoln to find out how a guy who came from a modest log cabin winds up becoming president of the United States. Now, in order to be president, you got to come from money. Poor presidents do not make the cut. I was sitting there doing research on the guys in Congress. I was looking at Alan Grayson. I was like, because he was this outspoken liberal champion, or lion. He comes from money. I was like, okay. I remember I think it was back in 2000, reading stories about freshman members of Congress having to sleep in their offices because they couldn't afford they couldn't afford to buy apartments anywhere in DC. They didn't make enough money. Come to find out that DC is a very expensive area to live in. That's a good example of the whole thing about greed versus practicality. In Shoodland, the people who work in DC should be able to live in DC and afford to live in DC. There probably should have been public housing or dorms or something for the congressmen and their staffs. Instead, all that area around the Capitol gets bought up by lobbyists and elites. Anyway. There was a documentary, Can Mr. Smith Get to Washington Anymore? Why does it always come down to politics with me? I don't know. And yet one of the reasons I said I didn't mention political science. I guess because at the end of the day, I keep wanting this functional world. And I know, and I've read about the dysfunction. Seems like it's getting harder and harder to run these days. Is it weight gain, shoes, or age? Look at my constant changes in diet. Whatever it is, I'm just not feeling that pep in my step. Somebody chimes in, you have low T. You need a testosterone booster. Start taking that shit heartbeat funny. Developing a unibrow. Blood pressure goes up. Damn it, I've never felt more alive. Alright, why is that building downtown in blue right now? No, I'm sure there's a good reason. It's the lowest cost of the month. Oh, the air conditioner's going and the lights are on. It's like what the Mormons got going on. I was just thinking about the only game of consequence that I want to watch next week, or this weekend, is A&M versus Clemson. I remember when, like I said, I remember when A&M first went into the SEC, I thought they were going to get their asses handed to them. I was like, there's no way this Big 12 team can hang with them big boys up there. And then they wound up being the thorn in the side of everybody else in the SEC. It doesn't matter what kind of year the person's having, they go into College Station, it's going to be a dogfight. A&M's pretty nasty when it has to be. It's just that they're another stupid football team. They're not consistently stupid like LSU or the Cowboys, or like, you know, like football teams like LSU or the Dallas Cowboys. But they're due for at least one stupid mistake per game. And I ain't talking about like little simple penalties here and there. Every team's got that. I'm talking about they do something once per game that you just kind of scratch your head and say, what? I can't remember what team that was they were playing last year. It went into triple overtime. They could easily beat the team. They made too many mistakes and ran out of gas and wound up losing at the end. I can't remember if it was them playing Oklahoma or somebody, but they let the team escape out of there with a win. And there was one year they were playing Mississippi State, and they did something that gave Mississippi State a first down and a second chance. Mississippi State wound up getting like the game-winning drive off of that. Something that's just utterly boneheaded. In the first week, man, you can definitely tell that college football, the difference between the preseason, I don't know. They definitely look rusty. That first game, there's a lot of bad football being played. Miami could easily have beaten Florida, but Miami couldn't get out of its own way. And Florida was looking just as bad, if not worse, but they escaped with a win. Oregon should have beat. That Oregon-Auburn game should have been a blowout. That was the Pac-10's chance to show that they can compete with the SEC. It should have easily been 35-3 in the first half. But Oregon just made too many damn mistakes. Turnover, missed field goal, and even the missed field goal, that should have been a touchdown. They were doing dumb things like trying to run the football on an SEC team. I'm like, come on. I was like, you guys are the Pac-10. You're known for your throwing. Don't sit here and try to, we're going to do smash life like they do. It's like, no, do your style and show that it works. Have faith in your abilities. Auburn had a lot of turnovers and punts, and yet they still escaped with a win in that game. It's always the maddening thing, and if Auburn winds up making it to the big dance, that'll be one of the games that sticks in my craw. Sometimes that's what I hate about college football. There's a lot of teams that are more lucky than good. Ohio State fits that bill every year. Penn State. Just about every team in the Big Ten. that what they call themselves, the Big Ten? I can't keep up with it anymore. Big Ten, Big Ten, Pac-10. Um, Randy Galloway used to call the Big 12. He used to call it the Bevo 10. That's really what it was. It was the Texas Longhorns and everybody else. I'm not quite sure what's wrong with the Longhorns other than a lot of talent. I think what it is their teams, they always have a lot of talent and they're badly coached. I thought they did Charlie Strong unfairly. And then I see him with the jobs he did in his other two spots, and I'm just thinking that Charlie Strong is he's got that same bad habit that Ty Willingham had, where he couldn't coach an offense to save his life. Well, whoever was the offensive coordinator, they just screwed the pooch. And it's possible maybe his offensive coordinator was undermining him because he knew he was going to have the job next. Then what was his name? I think Will Muschamp went in there, the defense coordinator, and he sucked for a couple of years. Then he went to Florida and he sucked there. I didn't particularly like Mac Brown when he was there, but they won a national championship. That was more because of Vince Young and less because of Mac Brown. That national championship game, somebody lit a fire underneath Vince Young and he just got pissed and they took it to USC. Sometimes, like I said, I think that's why I watch college football is sometimes there's justice. If you believe in justice, you'll watch the drama that is college football. And justice comes in different forms. Justice comes in a team that was overlooked for like 4 or 5 years, gets into the national championship game, and they utterly slaughter the team that has been there multiple times. They didn't deserve to be there. I'm looking at you, USC OU. That was a great game. I loved that game. I was like, this is justice. I had tears in my eyes. I was laughing so hard. USC went in there and they put a whooping on Oklahoma. It was 55-19. I remember looking at the first game. I mean, they were just airing it out. They didn't give a shit. They were just like, I was like, we're here to prove a point. And the point is, we fucking hate you, Oklahoma. Oh, we think you're overrated every year. 1 year you squeezed us out. Now we're going to make you pay on this field. And Bob Stoops looked utterly flabbergasted. There was nothing he could do. Because the hate had been building for so many years, and there was no way he could get his guys as fired up as Pete Carroll got his guy. Sometimes there's justice in the form of, there was the previous system, the BCS system, ranking systems, and they would always get it wrong. And they had these years where there was no clear-cut team that deserved the 1 and 2 ranking or the number 1 ranking. And this was happening with such frequency that everybody got pissed off, and so they went to different systems. First it was the ranking system, everybody hated that. Then it was the BCS. And even in the BCS they'd pick on 1 and 2. And sometimes if they pick for number 2, it'd be a dog. What was that year that the year that Danny Cannell Florida State somehow got into it, into the BCS championship game, and it was an ugly, nasty football game between them and Oklahoma. Oklahoma could barely score points, but their defense was shutting out an overrated Florida State. Now you got the college football playoff. It's way better than what they had before. But I can't help but think eventually it will be 8 teams. The reason why it has to be 8 teams is because that strength of schedule thing is killing everybody. I mean, don't get me wrong, I kind of like the fact that, okay. Don't get me wrong, I like the fact that Notre Dame is forced to play all of these non-conference games because they're an independent team and they can no longer load up on cupcakes every year. You know, every year they were getting to the big dance because they were fucking Notre Dame. Not because they were particularly good or anything. Same thing with Ohio State. You go out there beating Akron. And you play Miami, Ohio. And you're beating them by 62. Whooping up on these no-name teams. And then you play Michigan. That was their only hard game, was playing Michigan, and then after that, it's a shot at the college football playoff. Like I said, I love now that Ohio State has to sit there and play somebody from the SEC every year. Otherwise, they get no one looking at them. But I also hate that a team like UCF, you know, they'll be perfect for 2-3 years, but because of the strength of schedule, politicizing, I guess you want to call it, or the metric, they don't get in. And the 18 playoff, you get at least one Cinderella team in there. Because you get I think it would be 7 conference champions and then 1 independent. So what would it be? It would be the SEC champion, the ACC champion, the Big 10 champion, the Big 12 champion, the Pac-10 champion. That's 5 teams right there. And then I don't know where you get the other 3 from. Because I don't know if I want to count the Mountain Athletic. Is the Mountain Athletic Conference? Mountain Athletic Conference, and I know I'm missing somebody. I just can't think of if they're really important in the last 3 conferences, because I don't care. Did I say Big 10? I said SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, the Big 10, and the Pac-12, or the Pac-10. That's 5 conferences. Those are the 5 power conferences. And then you've got all the American Conference. Is that what they call themselves? Whatever the one that Army and all them play in. You got that conference. You got Conference USA. and then I don't know who the 8th one would be. That's where you have like the independent thing, like Notre Dame would have a shot, because they're independent. So either Notre Dame, it would be Notre Dame fighting another team for that wild card independent spot. No, we can't do that. That's too much of this. Final exams will be that. You just gotta roll your eyes. I was like, a college football playoff doesn't seem to be bugging Division 2A and 3A. Scuba even has a big expanded bracket playoff. So that, that limp dick excuse just doesn't seem to hold weight. It would take too long. Bullshit. We don't have a problem with the tournament in basketball. There's a World Series in baseball. Those playoffs don't seem to be too long and taxing on people in final exams. No, there's always something going on around here. Like I said, the reason I walk around at night is because I don't want to get caught up in people and their drama. I look over and there's still people outside at night with their drama. I don't know what Shirtless was doing out there. Maybe he was just enjoying the smoke. I wasn't gonna ask. 18 playoff. College football had an 18 playoff. I think there would be a lot fewer people watching the NFL. I mean, I guess there's always going to be. I just can't do it anymore. The NFL's gotten too commercial for me, too greedy, and frankly, just too stupid. I keep rooting for these other leagues to take off, but they keep talking about how they want to be feeders into the NFL. And then I'm reading about this latest thing that happened with the, I think it was the All-American Football Conference. And they had the one dude, he was going to infuse some money into it. And he was the chairman. And at the last minute he just said, I'm not paying any more money, and he just pulls out of it. And that's the thing, is nobody does this stuff anymore. Nobody does this stuff anymore just because they like the product. Everybody's so damn greedy and dysfunctional that you can't have a football conference because you're going to lose money possibly the first decade you put it together. But if you stick with it, it'll start taking off. You lose a lot of money because people don't know what it is. They don't know how to view it. And it just goes on and on and on like that. I think the only way that there is going to be another football league ever is I think you'll just have to make I think it'll have to be a virtual football league. Like what I'm watching. The simulated football league. I think there's going to have to be someone will design a game, make it multiplayer. Have owners, people buying into it, ownerships, people buying into play. Paying for the rights to televise the games for anybody who wants to watch on the old school television, and then the rest of it going up on the internet. Like I said, I get tired of the fact that, if you like football, too bad, you better find a way to make money off of it. and you lose money on sports. Sports is just not a moneymaker.